Hello, and welcome to Spirit Among Us. To conclude this series about saying no to sin and saying yes to Christ, I want to look at the importance of being devoted to Jesus. If we are a people that chase after Him before all else, before all other things, then we will naturally be living within His world. We will naturally be rejecting the world and holding fast to Him. I want to start by taking a look at Romans chapter 6, verses 13 and 14. Do not present your members to sin as instruments for unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life, and your members to God as instruments for righteousness. For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under the law, but under grace. In our lives, we are called to be instruments. Jesus is calling us to be instruments. We once lived in a way that was contrary to God. We once lived in a way that was opposed to Him. And we once lived as instruments for sin. We were devoted to evil. We were on a path of destruction. But now we are called to reject that way of life. We are called to turn from our past sin, from our past of evil, and make a complete flip to the opposite side. Stop being controlled by evil, and instead present yourself to God as an instrument for righteousness. That is our calling. That is where God is leading us, to present ourselves to Him as instruments, as tools of righteousness. Now, what this is a call to surrender. This is a call for us to let go of our own will and hold fast to the will of God. Reject our plans, reject our worldly desires, and give ourselves in complete devotion to our God, to be used in any way He wants, to be led wherever He wants us to go. So being devoted to Jesus involves surrender, involves giving up our plans and choosing His plans above all else. Now, in addition to surrendering our behaviors and our plans, we are also called to be intentional about our own actions. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Now, everything we do in this life, even if it's as mundane as eating a meal, should be done for the glory of God. Not for ourselves, not to satisfy ourselves, not for our family, but for God's glory. That should be the chief motivator in all that we do. Now, this isn't to say that we can't do things for others. This isn't to say that we shouldn't display love for others and try to build other people up. But the chief motivator, the number one thing that leads us to action in all things, should be a desire to glorify our God above all else. When we have that desire, He will lead us to be His light and to be His love and to treat others the way we ought to. But we are called to be devoted to Him above all else, to be devoted to His glory above all else. This is what being devoted to Jesus really looks like. Now, one important thing to be reminded of to lead us to be completely devoted to Christ is to remember the future He has for us. Let's take a look at Hebrews chapter 13, verse 14. For here we have no lasting city, but we seek the city that is to come. This place we live in now is not our home. We are just passing through. We're on our way through. We have no lasting city here, but we seek the city that is in the kingdom of God. He has an everlasting home for us. Jesus tells us that He is right now preparing a place for us. And let that hope lead us to be a church completely devoted to our God. Thank you for watching, and God bless.